What's up guys, Cypherx here with another guide. Today we're going to be looking at the Greatsword and Rangers of Oblivion. I'm not going to lie, this was a lot of fun to make. This is a super reliable weapon that I can't wait to tell you guys a lot about of. So let's go ahead and get started.
Don't pause. Press play.
So the Greatsword is your traditional tried and true brute force weapon that can smash pretty much anything it touches. It's huge. Think, Guts from Berserk, or just your traditional oversized flat-sided giant weapon of just mass destruction. It's slow, it's methodical, you can systematically piece apart any behemoth that comes across your way, and that's why I feel it's one of the most satisfying weapons in the game thus far. So a few things that will encourage players to pick up and possibly main Greatsword are its damage and reliability. To start, the Greatsword has the highest single hit damage in the game, bar none. If you need a weapon with some stopping power, please look no further. The Greatsword is basically the magnum of the game. It has some natural AoE effects from the cleave nature of the weapon. It is a Greatsword, and so you will be swinging it around, hitting multiple targets at the same time. The Greatsword also has a nice feel to it between the heft of the weapon and the way monsters tend to flinch to it. It makes revealing and breaking weak points really easy and enjoyable. A stun skill later in the game further adds to the control Greatsword can have over a fight. It has some native mobility with its blink thrust and mobile charging attack, and also it has a nice vertical and frontal reach for harder to hit parts. Now the only real cons I found for Greatsword was its speed and the fact that it can be very stamina reliant depending on how you're playing it. I say this as someone who leans heavily on the charge attack, as I do with both bow and lance. I love my charge attacks, and I love the fact that I can move around while I do them with all three of those weapons, Greatsword included. Now charging attacks and roll canceling out of attacks eats up stamina really fast and often leaves me open to damage, but this is something that's fixable with both gameplay and gear, so it's only minor. Moving on, let's cover attacks and mechanics. Greatsword features a 4-hit normal combo attack chain and the ability to be charged while moving. Now up front, I almost never ever use the regular attack chain with Greatsword. I love the charge attack because it hits hard and it feels like those attacks actually matter. Now that's all up to opinion, just how I play. Now the charge attack takes roughly 1 to 2 seconds to charge, if that. It feels faster than the bow full charge and it hits harder than the lance charge. Also, it has 2 hits. If you tap the attack button again after the initial cleave, you will do a horizontal follow-up cleave that hits fairly hard. Now you can also move during the initial charge, which is a major plus. And just to let you know, if you need to dodge, let go of the charge button first, then dodge immediately after. Your first skill, Blink Thrust, is a teleport where you throw your sword and catch it in midair, executing a horizontal slash. It can do up to 320% damage and has a 10-second cooldown, and all future variants and runes increase damage and change animation varying from a down slash or an up slash. You learn these all from Dagon Arion. Your second skill, Dragon Fang, is an energy burst type move that does up to 550% damage and has a 16-second cooldown. While it has some distance on it, it can also be used up close effectively to concentrate the damage on fewer spots. It's good for revealing behemoth weak points and keeping DPS up between moves. Future variants of this move vary from a single wave that hits multiple times to a variant of the original double wave that does more damage and gives a 20% damage buff. You can learn this from Merrick. Your third skill, Saintly Judgement, is a 3-stage charge attack that hits hard and will be your bread and butter for revealing and breaking parts. A full charge can do up to 860% damage and has an 8-second cooldown, making it extremely spammable. Future variants include a defensive version that gives a damage reduction buff, a more offensive version that makes you more vulnerable in exchange for increased damage, and a stun version that feels like it was borrowed from a hammer. You can learn all of these from Balin. Now as for tips guys, Greatsword is a very straightforward weapon with no usable resource aside from stamina, so my tips are very few and far between here. First, dodge roll is your absolute best friend. It's great for getting into position for Saintly Judgement or a charge attack, and it's also good for canceling the delay on your skills after you use them, which the delay can be huge. It can leave you just kind of sitting there mouth agape ready to get hit. Instead, the second you hit, especially with Saintly Judgement, you hear that thunk, dodge roll right out and get back to what you were doing. On the note of dodging, I truly believe that counter-centric gameplay works really well with the Greatsword. Yes, it seems like you should just berserk everything, but knowing how and when to punish a behemoth seems to really be where Greatsword shines. Perfect dodging into a level 3 Saintly Judgement yielded fast part reveals and gave me control over most of my fights. Now this last tip is more of a side note and a personal opinion from my experience, and that's leave Blink Thrust for when you actually need to move somewhere. The damage for it is subpar and it's easily outclassed by your normal charge attack. You don't need to use it to fill in DPS, you don't need to burn your cooldowns. There are times I spam this skill just to fill in DPS, where instead I could have done nearly double if not triple the damage from a normal charge attack and the follow-up cleave in the same amount of time. Leaving Blink Thrust off cooldown also makes it available for when you actually need to move somewhere, like if you're chasing a behemoth and you want to make good use of the fact that its back is facing you for about 2-3 seconds. Blink Thrust will get you there so you can go right into a level 2 or maybe even a level 3 Saintly Judgement if you time it just right. Now for armor, I found good experiences with both the Croaker set for easier encounters and the Howler set for more difficult challenges. Why? The Croaker set focuses on weak point damage with its weak point finder perk that gives 10% more damage, and I've boosted this to 15 with a few more Wild Souls socketed. While the backstab perk is nice, 5% at early game is literally like nothing. The numbers just aren't there. The Betrayer debuff is minor and only takes away one charge of a random wild skill at the beginning of your fight, but since you generate charges while you fight, I found this easy to ignore. As for the Howler armor, as for my previous experiences with bow, lance, dual blades, extra stamina and crit are a great combo. Youthful Vigor 1 gives me that 20 stamina per second, and Thirst Reward gives me a total of 10.5% crit rate and crit damage once it's stacked up to 7 times. The Coward debuff, which decreases your attack in the presence of behemoths, is nulled out by a Wild Soul I socketed to counter the negative ferocity. As for Wild Souls, there are too many to really name and go over. Any Wild Soul can work with any weapon, to be honest, but a few of the ones that I personally prefer were Tiamat for the weak point and attack, Terra for her attack boost and part damage, Barbaros for his weak point damage and damage boost, Milena for her paralyzing trap and her passive crit chance, Janus for his time freeze and time reverse, Artemis for her passive stamina regen, shortened run time and attack buff, and Kaguya for her crit and leech passive and her dragon, giant, and mutated damage boost. And that's all I have for you guys today. Again, this was just a quick and dirty beginner guide on Greatsword, which I thoroughly enjoyed. If I missed anything or if you have any thoughts, let me know down in the comments below. Peace. Hey guys, thanks again for choosing my channel to spend your time. If you liked and or learned anything, feel free to roll your face over that like button and subscribe for more. Also, I invite you to join me in my new Discord channel so all your awesome ideas can be buzzed directly to my brain via my pants pocket. Thanks for watching, comment down below, see you again soon. Peace!